Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have an episode specifically about the foundation for healing from emotional abuse. And this is something that I work with all my clients on at the very beginning of our 12-week program together. And that self-worth is so critical to building up and acknowledging your value when you start embarking on your healing journey. So what I want to do today is, explain the significance of this and why it's so important in the healing process. And I'm also going to be introducing you to a program that I've created, an online program that if you're interested in, you can sign up for and do completely self-paced online on your own time. All right, so, focusing on healing after emotional abuse, right? We get out of these emotionally abusive relationships, these toxic situations, and the very first thing that we do is think about, how do I fix this? How do I heal from this? How do I stop the triggers? How do I stop ruminating? And I'm here to tell you that self-worth plays a very significant role in this healing process. And, a lot of people talk about self-care, and they talk about, putting yourself first and doing all the things that will help you. And those are all wonderful things, and I've done a lot of them myself. But a lot of people skip over the part about truly feeling and truly immersing yourself in your value. And the reason why is because they don't know how. If you have been emotionally abused, let's say in childhood, neglected, abandoned, hurt, traumatized, right? You probably don't feel very good about yourself. There may be things about you where you have assigned the hurt and pain and blame to yourself, that there is something wrong with you. But I'm here to tell you that's not true. That's definitely not true. Other people's behavior is a reflection of who they are. And so how other people treat you really has nothing to do with you at all. And this also applies into adulthood. So if you have been in an emotionally abusive relationship with someone as an adult, I call this brainwashing. So let's say you had a wonderful childhood, and then you end up in a relationship with somebody who's extremely abusive and toxic. You may start to develop feelings of low self-worth because this person is brainwashing you and telling you things and making you believe things about yourself and gaslighting you and coming up with behaviors that really make you doubt yourself. So, you know what emotional abuse is. You are listening to this podcast. Emotional abuse comes in many different forms, and it deeply affects us. It really does. And a lot of people don't understand how deeply that emotional abuse can impact us. And what happens is our self-worth becomes eroded over time. You've probably heard of this analogy of like a rock that has been worn away by water, right? It's the drip onto that rock. And over time, it starts to wear away at that rock. And it's very similar with emotional abuse, right? It's not just like this one-time thing. It happens over time. And when that happens, it's like wearing away at that rock. It's wearing away at our self-worth and making us believe that we have no value, which just isn't true. So I'd like to give you an example here. When I was in my emotionally abusive marriage, I used to always say to my husband, I used to say, you just keep chipping away at me. And I didn't even know that I was being emotionally abused at that time. I had no idea. But I kept repeating this same phrase because that's what it felt like. You just keep chipping away and chipping away and chipping away at me. And that's really an awful way to go about your life and feel when you're married to someone who you trusted and someone who you believed was going to love you, and then they don't. So over time, as my self-worth began to get worse and worse and worse, what happened to me was I tried to prove my worth to him. So I was doing all of the things that he wanted. I was thinking about his needs before my own. I was trying to go above and beyond, doing things that I thought he would be happy about, and that would make him love me more, and that would make him see my value, right? So I was trying to prove my value as my value was being eroded. And maybe you can relate to this. Maybe this is something that, so for me, once I finally escaped that emotionally abusive relationship, I left with so little self-worth. And I really didn't believe that I was valuable. Like, I think cognitively, I knew that as a human being, I was worthy, but something inside of me, something on a much deeper level, truly just didn't get on board. It just didn't believe that I was worthy because I had all of these other stories in my head and these examples and these instances and situations from being in that emotionally abusive marriage, saying things like that I wasn't good enough, or that I would never be enough, or that I needed to try harder or be more or do more, right? Like, I wasn't feeling loved for who I was. I wasn't feeling like I could just show up and be me and that was okay. So from here, this impacted every area of my life. It impacted my relationships with other people. It impacted my relationships with my friends and with my children. It really impacted every area of my life, and even my ability to take action and do things that were good for me or things that I needed for my own healing. And so I want to explain this to you because I think it's really important to understand, and I tell my clients this all the time, your emotions and how you feel about yourself, or how you feel about your worthiness or your lack of worth or whatever that might be, that is actually, those emotions are coming from your subconscious beliefs, right? So the beliefs create the emotions, and then the emotions drive the behavior. So, you could compare two people. If you have one person who knows they're worthy, believes they're worthy, has all the confidence and all the security within themselves, those thoughts about themselves create those feelings, right? And then those feelings result in action and behavior and how they show up, right? They will be more willing to stand up for themselves. They will set boundaries. They know that they're worthy, so they're not going to take anybody's garbage. They will take action to do things because they're confident, and they know that even if they mess up, that's okay. That doesn't mean that they are a failure as a human. So when you look at it from the other standpoint, if you have someone who has really low self-worth and really doesn't feel good about themselves, and you inspect all the beliefs that they have, it's very easy to see why they might not take action, why they might be depressed and lie in bed all day, why they might sit in groups of people and be less talkative or less engaged, why they might not do self-care things for themselves because they don't feel worthy. They don't even feel like they deserve it. So this is why when I work with clients, we start with self-worth. We start with building these feelings and sensations of value within side of yourself. Like, we start there because that is the foundation. If we don't have that, we try to skip over it and try to do other things, then it makes it harder to heal and recover, because really all things good stem from how you feel about yourself, the love that you have for yourself, and the worth, the innate value that you have. So, a lot of people want to do affirmations, and they want to say, well, I am worthy and I am good enough, and, all these wonderful things that you can do. And I love affirmations and I think they're amazing. But what a lot of people don't know about affirmations is that affirmations do not speak the language of the subconscious mind. The language of the subconscious mind is in stories and images, right? So if you're just saying, I am good enough, right? You can say that till you're blue in the face. You can say it a million times. But unless you're speaking the language of the subconscious mind, which is in stories or images or proof and evidence, then your subconscious mind doesn't get on board. So you're basically wasting your time just repeating affirmations over and over. They may feel good in the moment, but they're not actually changing anything inside your brain. And that's why I do the work that I do to help people, because I want you to understand that, a lot of people are out there saying, oh yeah, just do positive affirmations. And maybe they work for you. I'm not saying that they don't work for everyone, but for the majority of people, if you're not working in the realm of the subconscious mind, which drives 95% of how you show up in the world and how you're feeling, then you could be wasting your time. So instead of just repeating these things, it's more about showing your mind proof that you are good enough and showing your mind proof that you are worthy. So that's what I'm going to be showing you in the online program that I've created, which is a 7-week program. It's actually 6 weeks, but 7, there's a bonus. But in this program, we start with your values. And values really contribute to a sense of purpose and direction. And that's why it's so important. And most people don't even know what their values are. A lot of people can say, oh, I value my family, or oh, I value my friendships, or I value trust and loyalty. And those are wonderful things. But when you really get into what your true values are, things that you cannot live without, it opens up a whole new world. And most people never do this. Most people don't consider what they value. But values are really, really key to helping you find your own self-worth. And so that's what I'm going through in the I'm Worthy immersion program that I have available for you. And you are going to figure out what you truly value. And when you do that, then you show yourself the love that you already have of yourself, right? So let me give you an example. So if I say that I really value communication in relationships, like that is a huge thing for me and I really value it, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show myself, because I love that. I think it's a wonderful thing, right? I value communication and I love it and I feel really strongly about it. So now I got to show my brain how I show up as a good communicator in all the different ways, right? Because if I love communication so much and I value communication so much, and then I can show myself how I am a good communicator and how I show up clearly when I'm delivering messages and how I'm very honest and forthright in what I say, right? If I show my brain proof and evidence of what I value, how can I not love myself? I'm developing and establishing love for me based on the things that I already value. So this is really amazing and interesting because most people don't even consider what they value. And you might think you know what you value. And I've done this exercise before where I write down like 50 things that I value. And then you go back and start crossing things off. And you're like, well, that's really not a value that I really, really need or that I can't live without, right? So you start scratching them off. And then you're like, what are my really like core values? What are things that I really, really value? And then what you can do is you don't have to like eliminate those values. I'm not saying you eliminate them. I'm just saying that for getting down to the core values that you actually have for yourself, because there's usually like maybe 3 to 5 that most people can identify pretty easily. But then you take all the other values, and even things that you want to love about yourself even more. So if you say like, I really want to value my intelligence, let's say you've struggled with that through your life and you've felt like you weren't very smart, or you felt like you couldn't keep up with other people or something like that, and you really want to increase your self-worth with that, right? Then you can do the same thing by showing your mind how valuable you are with intelligence, right? So you can do it for anything. So that's why I've created this program for you, because I feel like it's really foundational And when I was thinking about how I was going to create this, I just thought, what is the one thing that if I could help people with, people who don't invest in my one-on-one coaching program, right? What is the one thing that I would want them to know? And it's this, it's that you are valuable. And I call it the I'm Worthy Immersion Program because I want you to feel it. I don't want you to just think it or just write it. I want you to feel it. And that's what this does. It helps you feel your worth. So where are you on a scale of 1 to 10 right now? If you think about it, 1 is low, 10 is high. Where does your self-worth fall? If you're somewhere in the middle or middle to high, that's wonderful, right? I'd love for you to be at that 8, 9, 10 level, right? Because it's possible to be there. But some people will come in and say 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, that's too low, right? We can shift this for you by helping you identify what you value and by shifting these programs that you've been made to believe throughout your life, throughout your abuse, whatever experiences that you've had that have made you believe that you weren't worthy, right? Because when you were born, the day you were born, you had value, right? Well, you had value before you were born, but from the time you were born to now, you have been programmed by society, by culture, by family, friends, relationships. All of that has been a program. So if we want to change how you feel, then we have to change the programming. It's just like a computer. So you have been programmed a certain way, just like a computer is programmed to operate a certain way. If we want to change how you feel and how you behave, we got to get in there and change that programming. So identifying your core values and identifying things that you want to love more about yourself and value more about yourself can positively impact your self-worth. So if you've been listening to me and you have been watching my reels or seeing my stuff on Facebook and Instagram, I take a different approach to recovering after emotional abuse. And that is the rapid reprogramming method. And that is when we get into the subconscious mind and we start changing all of the stuff, the actual neural pathways. This is science-based. This isn't woo-woo. This is literally us doing a process to change the way that your brain operates. And we're taking the thoughts that are keeping you feeling low about yourself and we're weakening them. And then we're strengthening the ones to help you feel more worthy. And it feels amazing. So I work with all kinds of women and they all come to me. And almost every single one who I've ever worked with had feelings of low self-worth at the beginning. And at the end, they start feeling good about themselves again. And this is because the reason they feel bad is their programming. So we're just going to change that. We're just going to change that tape. It's this repetitive tape that's playing over and over and over. We're going to take the tape and we're going to move it over here and we're going to put a new tape in that tells a different story. And again, this isn't affirmations. This is actually retraining your brain to think in a new automatic way. Okay, so if you're interested in signing up for the online I'm Worthy Immersion program, you are going to get, like I said, 7 weeks of training. You're going to learn about the subconscious mind. You're going to learn about the brain and trauma. You're going to also be experiencing meditations and visualization exercises so that you can be best equipped to uncover your values, to start making these shifts about how you feel about yourself by using the power of your subconscious mind, by not just thinking it or saying affirmations. No, we are going to actually help you feel and immerse yourself in worth. When you join this, you also will be part of a private Facebook group if you are on Facebook, where you can go and ask questions or get support or post things that you're feeling inspired about. because I want this to be a community as well, so that, and I'll be in there too, so I can answer questions if you're, feeling like you need extra support. But again, this is all about retraining your brain, rewiring your mind so that you can go from that feeling of low self-worth to feeling confident, to feeling secure. And when you feel that way, then all kinds of other things unlock for you for your healing. Okay, so while we're here, I'm just going to give you a couple of tips on how you can do this. So the first thing you want to do for establishing these values is just get out a piece of paper and just write down as many things that you value, right? Because everybody's going to value something different. Your values are going to be different from the next person. And it doesn't matter what you value, right? Like there's no judgment about it. You are able to value anything that you want. There is no right or wrong thing to value. Some people value money, right? And some people say, oh, that's bad, you shouldn't value money, right? Well, there's actually nothing bad about that, right? It's what we believe is all based on our programming anyway. So just put down what you value. Just write it all out and put as many things as possible. You might even, like, I've done this, like, Google a list of values. Like, what are some things that people value? And you can just glance through that list and figure out what it is that you want to pull from there and put down on your list. Then what I like to do is I like to kind of narrow down to maybe like 3 to 5 things that I can't live without. Usually you'll come down to one thing that you can't live without. And I know for me, it's freedom. So my number one value is freedom. And I've been able to knock all the other things off the list. Freedom is one thing I cannot live without. So for you, it's probably going to be something else. And that's great. The key part here is to just be aware, just to know what you value. And the other thing is values change, right? So values can change over time. If something happens in your life, or like an event or something comes up for you, that can change what you value, right? If you have a bad experience with something, then maybe that goes lower on the list and you're like, I don't value that anymore. So values can change. So start with a list and start crossing off the things that aren't really like detrimental to your life. Like, I don't necessarily need this. And then get down to like maybe 10, and then get down to like 5 or 3, and then you can figure out what your number one value is. And this is important just for awareness, because most people don't know. And when you start really thinking about it, like, wow, I always thought I really valued this, but now I'm seeing that this is more important to me. Then you can act in ways and show up in ways that align with that value. And when you show up in ways that align with what you value, then you increase self-love. You start feeling better about yourself and worthy because you already love that. You already recognize this as something that's really important. Also, if you're having trouble figuring out what you value, you can look at examples in the world. You can look at other people and how they show up and what do you really value in others, and you could decide if that's something that you really value in yourself. So when you take action toward your values and you show up in ways that prove that you align with those values, that also creates self-worth. It helps you build that confidence within yourself because you're saying, look, I'm an honest person and I always show up with honesty. Or I am a really committed person and I always show up with loyalty. And you can show your mind specific examples, and you are still, to this very moment, showing up in ways that prove it to yourself. And that's how we start to speak the language of the subconscious mind and help ourselves feel and immerse in that worth. Now, again, I just want to mention it's a wonderful thing to do positive affirmations, right? It is a wonderful thing. This is the mindfulness piece of it. You can incorporate action and self-care and get support from other people. But the purpose of me telling you this is because not a lot of people are aware of this. Not a lot of people know that values play such a critical role in your self-worth. What you value, you love. And if you are showing up in ways that prove this love to yourself, you can't help but love yourself. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful for you to understand and know how you can start to really immerse yourself in your innate value and your worth. And I really want to encourage you to go out and look at my website for the I'm Worthy Immersion Program. It's an online program. It's self-paced. You can go as slow or as fast as you want. It is a 7-week program, meaning each particular topic is separated by week. And in there, you're going to learn so much, and you're going to start to feel worthy of yourself. I originally had priced this at $333, and I recently did a promo for people to get in on a coupon code for $111. And I've just decided that I'm going to offer this to you for $50. $50 for 7 weeks for this online program to help you increase your self-worth. Now, you may not be feeling like you're even worth $50 at this point, but I'm telling you, once you invest in yourself and start to unlock this feeling for yourself, you're going to look back and be like, that's the best $50 I ever spent, right? Because what is that? I don't know, $7 a week? Maybe that's a cup of coffee for you. All you need to do is go out to my website at www.whentearsleavescars and click on the additional support options tab at the top, and all the information is right there for you, and you can join. I will also include the link in the show notes below. So thank you so much for listening in, and I really appreciate you being here and being part of my community and sharing my podcast with the people around you who might need it. And just remember that your healing is in your hands. And even though other people have programmed you and brainwashed you and conditioned you to feeling bad about yourself or feeling low self-worth, it's not something that can be taken away. It is inside of you. We just have to peel away all the layers and let that light shine so that you can become who you are truly meant to be. I love you guys so much. I am so grateful for you. If you have any questions about the I'm Worthy Immersion Program, if you want more details or anything like that, just send me a DM over on Instagram or Facebook, and I'm happy to help. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for being here with me today in the Emotional Abuse Recovery Podcast. I hope you found value here with me. If this podcast episode was helpful to you, I'd love for you to hit subscribe and leave me a review. My goal is to help you go from feeling stuck to set free. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, and you can check out whentearsleavescars.com for more resources and information to help you with your own emotional abuse recovery. Until next time, here's to believing in